Good morning, and thank you for joining me today on Soul. I'm Em, and I'm happy to have you today as we're delving into the powerful practice of writing or journaling. Writing has always been a fundamental form of expression. In fact, it's one of my favorites. Whether it's poetry, stories, personal reflections, the act of putting pen to paper truly has an extraordinary power, which I personally consider to even be the power of healing. When we write, we give our thoughts a tangible form. And in doing so, we very often gain clarity and even perspective. Journaling provides a safe space to explore our emotions. Writing in general is a judgment-free zone where you can be completely honest with yourself. Writing down your feelings allows you to process them in a very healthy way. It's a bit like having a conversation with yourself, a chance to understand what's truly going on the inside. And if we take it one step further, it doesn't need to be a journal per se. I will sometimes write poetry, and I know someone who creates characters or draws them out, but gives them the same emotions to work through them. Life can sometimes be incredibly overwhelming, and I know recently I was talking to a very good friend of mine who was going through a very tough time and didn't feel like sharing. My friend's also not currently in therapy, and one thing we discussed was potentially just writing things out. And I said, I really like journaling. I like writing poetry. Have you ever considered doing that? And for my friend, it was something new. She had tried journaling before, but it didn't really stick. A couple of days later, I got a message from her telling me that she just wrote down what was on her mind, and about dozens of pages came out. Writing really can be a lifeline. And really the most important thing, because I get this a lot, is how do you start? I sometimes start just by saying, okay, what's on your mind today? What's keeping you up? And then speaking to myself in the third person, or like speaking to myself in the second person, really, just to try and get out what's on my mind. The important thing is when you jot down your worries, you externalize them. You create a buffer between yourself and your anxieties, which can then provide tremendous relief. Now, bear in mind, we're not even looking at solutions yet, right? You're just putting down your words on a paper to figure out what is it that's actually worrying you. This is something that I've also started doing at night before I go to bed quite often. Whenever I'm up and I can't figure out how to go to bed because there's something on my mind, I just bring a pen and paper and I start writing down what's on my mind. And it's everything. Sometimes it's work. Sometimes it's worries with my apartment. Sometimes it's worries with friends, with partners, with family. And then once I've written everything down, I go through it again to try and figure out, okay, what do I have a solution for? And I'll write it down. If I don't have a solution, then at least I've written it down so that it can rest far away from my mind. It's on the paper now. I'm never going to forget it, but at least I can get that relief for the night. We've spoken about this a little bit a few weeks ago, but have you ever also looked back at an old journal entry and marveled at how much you've changed or how the things that were worrying you were mostly resolved? Writing down your thoughts and feelings is kind of like creating a roadmap of your personal growth journey. It also allows you to see how far you've come, and that sense of progress can be incredibly motivating. So how can we start harnessing that therapeutic power of writing or journaling? Well, I recommend beginning by setting aside just a few minutes every day to write down your thoughts. Remember, it doesn't have to be pretty. It just needs to be honest. If you can't really take time, then right before going to bed, just jot down what it is that is on your mind. I recommend finding a quiet space and just having a pen and notebook and letting your thoughts flow. I know some people prefer to write on their phones, and I'm someone who works in sustainability, so I definitely understand not wanting to use pen and paper. However, for the healthier reasons, using a pen and paper has actually been proven to be more effective and also helps with that feeling of relief. This does bring us to the end of today's episode. Remember, the act of writing down your thoughts and feelings isn't just an exercise in self-expression. It's an act of self-care that we do step by step, day by day. Give it a try and see how it can transform your life. Take care, thank you, and see you next week on Soul.